like to call to order the City of Mexico Beach Planning and Zoning Board regular meeting and hearing Tuesday, October 6th, 2015 at 6 p.m. And Adrian, if you'll do a roll call.
Ms. Burgess.
Here.
Mr. Giesling.
Here.
Mr. Teal.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan.
Here.
Ms. Ketter.
Here.
And Mr. Bush.
Here.
And the first order of business, we haven't had an opportunity since the board was formed with a full complement of members, and our first order of business is to elect the chairman or presiding officer, and I'll hear nominations.
I nominate you, Joe. You've done a great job so far.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Me too. So, with that being put to bed, apparently our first item is a hearing on the hotel development. I don't know if we want to do the presentation first, or
Yes, sir, if you
start the
would
public
please the
comment.
chair. I want to first of all start by saying I think it's really wonderful this many people have showed up to come hear what we have to say this evening. Second of all, you may have noticed it's kind of chilly in here when you first walked in. I suspect as time goes on, it may not be as chilly. That's just a guess. By all means, as indicated by the chair, this is a public hearing. Anybody can give their testimony by coming up to the podium and stating their name. If you did not sign in the back, that is the statement by which you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you have not signed that, then you need to say that when you come up to the podium. So I'd rather you go back now and sign up now and not have to putz with it later on.
And I'd like to interject, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to like to speak tonight. If we could, try to limit it to 3 minutes, and let's don't do a whole lot of repeating. From the emails that the council has, or the board has received and the council has received, there's a good variety of issues, but if someone, other than if you want to be on the record and maybe endorse what someone's already said, but rather than hear 70 people, maybe only 60 of you want to get up, say pretty much the same thing that has been said in previous discussions, that would be appreciated. I didn't bring my pillow tonight. And with that being said, we'll start the agenda item, hotel development, and I guess we'll start it with the presentation.
Yes, sir, Your Honor, what the intent is, but first of all, we have to determine, due to our administrative hearing part of the LDR, is determine if anybody has a disqualification because of a conflict or anything. In light of the fact the board members or plan and zoning members have already presented their ex parte communications, then that pretty much satisfies that requirement. So I don't think there's any other reason to disqualify anyone.
With that being said, does anyone feel on the board that they need to disqualify themselves for any reason? Well, with that being said, I think we can go ahead with the presentation.
Okay. What is expected tonight, we would like for the developers to make their presentation and state their case. It's expected that they will make their request whether or not they want to proceed with the plan unit development type of rezoning or go to a different rezoning category. And of course, how that request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And once that is determined, make sure they give us a copy within 5 days of what, in writing, what that it actually is. That being said, we have 3 members of the delegated team to make the presentation. We have Victoria, Tiffany, and Robert. I'm not sure who's going to carry the laboring oar, but nonetheless, my guess is Victoria is going to be first.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for having us, and we are really thrilled by the participation tonight. What we would like to do is address the planning board and just tell the story of the development and the anticipated or proposed building, and let you know that we have really tried to be very conscientious of the existing thread of residential culture around this parcel or these parcels. And actually, the letters that were received were very good. We saw them as constructive criticism and saw them as a way to work together on this development. So we'll be taking notes to try to incorporate as much as we can into the development and work together as a team, because this is your facility too. So, and the developers feel that way too. So with that, I'd like to introduce the team. I'm Victoria Williams with BDA Design. We're the architectural group for the project, and we have Timothy Castercombe, one of the architects with our firm. And we have Robert Carroll with McNeil Carroll, and he will be talking to you a little bit more as we get into it. But first of all, what we'd like to do, is there a time limit?
Well, I'll let you know.
Okay, we'll try to keep it very, very.
There's not officially a time
Okay.
limit, but it's going to be a long one.
Okay. Basically, we just wanted to go over where it started, of course, the survey, and the parcels in question.
They're having trouble.
Hopefully, everybody can see here and on the block there. These parcels are not part of the development, and so that's what we were tasked to deal with. It's a beautiful parcel. First order of business, of course, is looking at the development on the site and what we have to comply with, and that's when we bring in Roberts. We've done a lot of the conceptual design and footprint of the building, but Roberts really worked with us diligently in seeking out what's required and how we comply with that and enhance that. Robert?
Thank you, Victoria. Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering for the record, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway. We've done work in Mexico Beach before. We're proud to be back again and hope to continue to do more work with you. What you see there is the site plan. On the north side there, the kind of the top of the paper, that would be Highway 98. So the rest of the property is towards the Gulf there. I'm just kind of work my way from 98 towards the back. What we've got in the front is a one-way entry, which is a drop-off, which would work as a valet, because we've got 4 components to this project. There is a small restaurant component, there's a spa component, there are hotels, units, and then we also have condominium. So working from the front there, the 2 little squares that you see in the front, one's a restaurant, one's a spa, and then continuing back, the kind of the V shape there, that would be your hotel units, with a couple of, it'd be 3 condo units up on the top of those. Working our way towards the center there would be a ground level parking, and then 3 levels of parking garage above that. And then behind that would be the condo units that would overlook the Gulf there. There's 3 levels of those as well. So in the back part of it, we're at only 3 levels, complying with your height criteria. The front, we are at 4 stories. There's a 4-story building, I believe, right across the street from us. So we're not going any higher than anybody around us. We're trying to be mindful of not putting that tower on the Gulf. My firm, we're guilty of doing a lot of condominium projects in Panama City Beach, and that's what we try to stay away from here. Typically, you put all your density on the Gulf, high as you can, everybody gets the views, but we did the opposite effect here, trying to keep everything to the front. So the parcel is 2.68 acres. Originally, there was another parcel that was going to be part of this. That's not part of this project, so we pulled it back, pulled the units back, reduced the parking a little bit.
Excuse me, when you say 4 stories, do you know how many feet that actually is?
It's actually, can I interject?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's actually not a full 48. We're at 45, 46 and change. Of course, the elevator shafts will have to be a little higher because of the hoist beams and that sort of mechanics up there. But that's where we're at.
Will the elevator shafts be within the height restriction?
They may. Normally at the top floor for elevators, it's anywhere from 12 to 14 feet to the hoist beam, and then that's where we can put the cap on it. So that would probably be, if that's 40, so that would be 42 to 40.
Well, you're 45 to 46, and then you put 12 feet on that? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's inclusive.
Oh,
It's within
okay,
it.
okay.
So we're within a couple of feet of that for the voice beam.
With both of these side streets, they're both dead-end streets, no cul-de-sacs, no real turnarounds. So I would imagine garbage pickups, and anytime anyone comes down to the park, it makes it kind of intrusive. What we tried to do was, on the east side, we have added some parallel parking there for the public. We know that the public loves going to the beach. We don't want to take away from that. Everyone parks there anyway. Another thing that we thought was a good idea is that we've taken the parking garage. There's 2 entry points on either side. We've made the garage where it's got an 18-foot clearance that where you can circulate through the building. For a garbage truck or emergency vehicle or somebody comes down the street, they don't have to try to make their way around and turn around. They can actually come through the building, circle through, and come to the other side. So it provides circulation for anyone that needs to come through. That it's not gated, so we think that's a positive thing for circulation. But that's the gist of the project. Excuse me. Victoria's going to get into the details, show you what the concept looks like. But that is how it all fits on the site, how it circulates. We envision with the restaurant and with the spa some drop-offs. You're going to come pull up in the front, and then they're going to valet your car. Same thing with the hotel.
Okay, is the square, where's the retention pond on this drawing?
At the garage, I'm going to have to point. I apologize. You'll see parking in here. That's the bottom level. This in here is open underneath it. And we'll do a vault system there and put the stormwater there.
Okay.
Because we're on the beach, dealing with beaches and shores, we know that we have to hold for the first 100 year, we're going to have to hold the 100-year storm events. We did Mexico Beach Villas. We're very familiar with your stormwater rules, but on the beach side, we know we'll have to do 100-year just to hold it on that side without any discharge. Fortunately, we've got good sugar sands there. It permeates pretty well. But for the most part, as far as site circulation and the project, how it lays out on the site, that's the gist of the project itself. Sure.
Well, this is the landscape plan. We did abide by your landscape requirements, but we see it as a minimal instead of what we could do. And so we're looking at enhancing that. This is just minimum. Up at the front of the development, to your right there, that's the Highway 98. That's quite lush. As you come down the side roads, we've put in what's required, but we're really looking to make sure that the building is soft, that it's inviting, that it really does kind of enhance the pedestrian scale. And also, this building will be a green building, it will be a LEED certified building, if not higher within the certification systems. So there'll be rooftop gardens and amenities. So you're not going to see, if you have a taller home, you're not going to see an ugly rooftop. You're going to see a nicely landscaped, utilized, wonderful space for everybody to utilize and see the golf. So this is just an example of the bare minimum of a landscape plan, but we anticipate doing much more.
When you say everybody, do you mean that we can come there? What does that mean?
Well, there is, it's a fabulous space.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
a
I'm
great
just
question.
curious.
It's a great question. There's a restaurant component and a spa component, and I believe that they were talking about being able to utilize the rooftop amenities if you're utilizing the restaurant and spa as well. They're looking at it as being very interactive, and I was very pleased when they enabled us to do that, because the roof on this is a huge asset. When we get to it, it's spectacular. But basically, this is the lower level, and because of the buildable elevations that we have to comply with, basically underneath the building is open. So it's not going to be like you walk up and there's just structure. So it's quite nice. This whole area under here is open. So it's 17.8
Above sea level.
above sea level. So, it's airy, it's nice. And there's on-grade parking. And as Robert said, there's an 18-foot high clearance between 34th and 33rd Street. And we envisioned emergency vehicles being able to utilize this if something's happened on 98 and they can't get between the two roads. It's a long stretch, and there's not a crossroad, and there's not a way to really get where you need to go in case of an emergency. So we envisioned being able to do that and contribute that to the neighborhood so you have some connectivity in case there is an emergency issue. Level 1. Now this is elevated on the Gulf side due to the finished floor elevations that we have to comply with. There are 5 condominiums on the Gulf side, but we're way back. This is the coastal control line that we have to abide by. That line there. Excuse me. So all of this is open, all of this is open. So there's a lot of beach open. It's not like we're building right up there to the edge. So we pulled it all back. There's 5 condominium units, and then there's parking for the condominium units here. This is still open. Very airy. There are hotel units here. On grade here is, we're calling it a grotto, but it's really, it's a nice space. There's a fire pit in there. There's interactive water features. There's a waterfall that comes down here. It's a wonderful space. And then, of course, you come into the side here, into the hotel here. There's a small restaurant, cafe here, and your spa is here.
When you say a small restaurant, are we talking 20 seats, 30 seats, 50 seats? Do you have any idea?
It's about 2,900 square feet, and I think it seats 40. How many seats do we have?
We have 45 showing.
45?
So it's a nice, quaint, cozy space, and there's outside dining along 98. We tried to really stay with pedestrian scale. This is our setback line. We're way back here. Setback, we're way back here. So we tried to pull it off of the street and really respond to the walkability of Mexico Beach. And there's outside dining here.
Is the
and
outside dining included in the 45 seats?
I don't think we put cafe chairs out there.
No.
No.
So how many additional seats will be outside?
12.
12?
The tables in there, that's good. So that's the first floor. And this is just a blow up of the floor because it gets really, really small. You see the cafe restaurant at the top of the drawing. The core center there is the check-in lobby, that sort of thing. There is a porte-cochere that you can pull up under in inclement weather and drop off. It is valet service only. So, and then you have the spa. And there's walk-up traffic. We tried to keep an internal vehicular circulation so that you don't have a lot of hotels you pull up and you're afraid you're going to get hit when you're unloading. And this, we've really tried to pull the through traffic that's getting to and from around the site away from where any pedestrians and unloading area would be.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Can we silence our cell phones out there? Please, thank you.
There's also some offices on this floor and laundry facilities. Level 2, basically this starts to get into the roof garden areas. And on the Gulf side, we stacked 5 more condominiums, so that's 7 floor condominiums on the Gulf side, so that's a total of 10 at the moment. You have parking around the central ramp that goes from floor to floor on your parking garage. It was funny, Robert and I were talking about the parking garage, and something that we were really trying to work towards is not letting it look like a parking garage. And he saw a building in one of the larger cities that looked like part of the building. It was actually a parking garage, you couldn't tell. And so that's what we're going for here. We don't want it to be the run-of-the-mill parking garage where you have the columns, and you have the 42 or the 48-inch high guard and all of that. That's not what we're going for. We're going for something that's much softer, cleaner, friendly. So that's part of the reason we pulled the parking internal between the two components and put green space and amenity space on top of it to soften it so it wasn't obtrusive. On the 98 side, we have, of course, the second floor of hotel units, and then, of course, the roof garden that is on top of overlooking 98. All of this is roof garden space. So you'll have plants and green space and walking paths and things like that through there that patrons can enjoy. It also helps with the heat island effect and capturing some of the rainwater and that sort of thing. Level 3, we have our third level of condominiums. That's the last level of condominiums on the Gulf side, so there's only 3 floors, total of 15 on the Gulf side. And then, of course, the internal parking once more and hotel units with some private balconies overlooking 98. Because people like to people watch. It's kind of fun in the evening just to get out there and see what's going on. So we're trying to get some interaction going between the building and the other areas around Mexico Beach. Okay. Amenity area. You're going to see a better picture of this with the rendering, but basically all of that space, both sides, is rooftop gardens, pavilions. There's a little stage area up there. It's not elevated, but maybe 12 inches. And then the glass rail overlooking the Gulf. So it's very open, great space. It'll be a wonderful space for to enjoy wedding receptions, family reunions, things like that. And then, of course, we have our 4th level of hotel units. Now, these are suites. These are the penthouse suites for the hotel units. And I think we only have 2 condominiums up on this floor here. And they are there and there. And the others are suites. So they'll be leased. And you overlook the grotto, the internal grotto, and it's a nice space. Rooftop garden rendering. This is kind of small. I wish we would have blown this up a little bit more for you. Just make sure that you see this. Here's the building. Rooftop garden area. Internal grotto area. This is the fire pit. It has a water feature to it as well. This is the cascading waterfall that comes down. And underneath here, there's a splash fountain. Zero entry pool is here, and that's on top of and kind of pushed out from the parking garage. So we're utilizing the parking areas to bring some amenities to the facility. And then, of course, you have there are a couple of day cabanas. This is an event platform. That's the 12-inch platform I was telling you about. You can have acoustic guitars, weddings, little dance recitals, things like that. I mean, just fun little things to enhance everyday life. And the breeze up there will be absolutely amazing. Shuffleboard. So we're really looking at the building as a living, breathing thing, and we don't want to waste a whole lot of space, especially with the views that you have to offer. We want to open it up and bring people in. So that's the intent there. There are some hotel unit options. I'm not going to go spend too much time on this. Everybody's been in the pro units. They're pretty much all the same. We're trying to do a few things differently because this is a boutique hotel, so it's going to be very, very nice. But it is going to pay homage to Mexico Beach. That's one of the goals. And then some suite options. And then we have the condominium units. And they're just, I think there's 2 or 3 designs. And then we have the elevations, and these really don't do it justice because it's very flat, and we'll never see the building in true elevation. It'll always be in perspective with shadows and things like that, so, but they're elevations. The renderings will give you a little better idea. So this is the artist rendering of the building from Highway 98. And like I said, there's a lot of open area. It's pushed way back from the street. It's pedestrian scaled. Remember when I told you about the rooftop gardens? The reason we did that is we didn't want, I'm not blocking your view, I'm sorry. We didn't want the hotel units to be in your face. We wanted them to be stepped back from the road, stepped back from the pedestrian scale, and build up kind of like a wedding cake effect, so that when you're standing on Highway 98 or standing or walking down a sidewalk, you're not really seeing a whole lot of the height. You're seeing the rooftop gardens, you're seeing the spa and the restaurant, so it builds back.
Victoria, how far is the entry from 98?
60 feet. Our setback is
So we're really pushing it so that the taller elements are more internal than right up on the street frontage.
How many total parking spaces are there?
202. And that's not including the street side parking.
Okay. And that's to accommodate the restaurant, the spa, all of the rooms and employees?
Yes, the required parking is
Like 186, I think it
86.
is.
So we have more.
Now,
The document we were given shows 202 and 227. I'm just wondering if we have it right.
It's morphed a little since your last packet. And like I said, based on some of the letters that came in, we did use it as constructive criticism. We didn't ignore it whatsoever. We took it to heart. We take it as a welcomed dialogue. And in reading some of those, we're pulling some things back. So, and we have done that. So we will get you the updated. It literally changed Friday, yesterday, and today. It's been very, very fluid, but we're really trying to hear everybody. So, there's the side elevations. This is the area going through the building I was telling you about. And once again, it's elevations, it's not the true view. That is the view from 33rd Street. And actually, this should be a little bit more. But the amenity area up on top of the roof and the garage area is spectacular. And we see it as, we want to throw back to the history of Mexico Beach, but we don't want to, we kind of wanted to give it a fresh look too. And so there'll be some elements on the building that look like weathered wood. These slats here, this is the parking garage. These wooden slats here look like weathered wood Bahama shutters, that sort of thing. So it's very friendly, it's not cold. There are several different boutique flags looking at this. And there's areas that they can put logos, and I mean, you could project things up on here if you wanted to, if you know, the block wanted to have movie night, or I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities that you can do with the building. I kind of breezed through it, but if you,
We appreciate it.
you're welcome. Hopefully I hit on everything, but if there's something that is confusing or vague, I'll definitely.
I have a question. I noticed some of your units have 2 bathrooms in them.
The hotel units?
Well, I don't know that they're the condo or the hotel rooms. And my question is, are the suites actually hotel rooms or condos?
They are hotel rooms,
Okay.
and they have connector doors.
So my question on those, and the fact that there's two bathrooms, I believe, in some of them, is there going to be a pull-out couch bed? I mean, are we going to put 4 people in a room that appears to be designed for 2?
Those hotel units, basically what it is we combine 2 of the hotel units to make those penthouse suites. And then we have one where we combine 3 of them. So it's
Well, there's still 25 by 30, and they show let me find my example here. Some of them show that there's an extra bathroom in it.
the regular hotel units are 25 by 15. So with the suites, we just combine 2 of the units, and they would be lining up, stacking with the other units.
Yeah, and my question is there going to be additional sleeping accommodations in those? So 2 couples come and rent one of those, and one stays in the bedroom, and the other stays out on a pull-out couch, and all of a sudden we've sort of doubled the capacity. You see what I'm saying? I can't understand any other reason to have a second bathroom.
Well, I will say that I've stayed at several hotels that my mother and I go to, we travel and do a trip together once a year. And we get a suite, and we each have our own bedrooms.
Right, I
And there's
understand that.
usually a bathroom in one of the bedrooms, and then there's a bathroom that's in the
More of
main
a
area
public-
that the
public-
second.
I-
bedroom would
I
be
understand
used.
that. I'm just-
So that's the concept here. And
Okay.
I know what you're asking about the pull-out couch, and then it turns into this massive
Or just,
bedding.
doesn't even have to be a bed, a mass, I mean, just a pull-out queen, and all of a sudden, we put 4 people in a room that we're accommodating 2 people in terms of parking and density, and it
It's a good question.
strikes me as an intent there.
Perhaps
that was
related
not our
to Joe's
intent.
question, one that I have, is what is your projected capacity at full occupancy? I noticed that you've projected parking spaces, and I see that you've calculated daily trip requirements in between the hotel and the condo, and your 125 units, if I'm reading it right, would generate 1,380 trips per day. But is there an expected number of people when you're at occupancy?
I can answer the trip. The trip is standard from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Those are just general numbers that they applied to that type of development. But as far as occupancy of the whole hotel, there's going to be weekends where it's a couple in the bedroom. There's going to be weekends where it's a couple and their 3 kids. There may be an opportunity when there's 2 couples. But we have adequate parking per your code. Now, we need to get into and look to see, there's only 8 suites. There's only 8 opportunities where you have that. So, and we're over parked by 20 plus cars. So we'd cover that easily. But as far as 2 couples trying to fit into a regular room, I couldn't predict that.
Doesn't look
I have
particularly
no
likely.
idea. Yeah.
If
So-
we need to remove the second bathroom, we can do that for you.
And my question really wasn't so much just, it wasn't for parking, it was just how many people will be here when it's
If it was-
finished and on a busy weekend?
If it was full.
Well, it's kind of hard to project that. I mean, if you have one person staying in a room or you have 4, I Unfortunately, I can't give you that information, but I can ask the question.
I just
and try to
thought
put
maybe
something
for
together.
emergency services and other things, there would be some calculations done for that.
Okay, we will definitely look into that.
I'm curious to know, what are your prices for your rooms and these suites and things? Any projected prices?
I wish I had that information. Unfortunately, I don't. But I can get it for you. Like I said, there's several different flags looking at this facility, and they are the higher end boutique hotels. So it fluctuates. I would have to get that for you, but I will.
The condos are rentals, not for purchase, correct?
The condos are for purchase.
They're for purchase.
Yes, sir.
And how many were there?
There are 15 on the Gulf, and then 3 on the 98 side.
So there are 18 condos for sale.
Yes, sir.
All right, if that concludes the presentation, we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we open this to the public comment, I guess this would be appropriate. I'd like to just so we have a better feeling about the room, could the people that are in favor of this development as we know it right now, please raise their hands. So there's about 12 of you, and those that would rather not see this development come to Mexico Beach? It looks like 30-ish. Okay. I have a couple questions before we open this to public discussion, and we certainly want to give people an opportunity to talk. I'm not clear yet on the status of the zoning regulations, and I'm not clear on the status of the PUD legality and the mini PUD legality. And those are questions the council has to answer, not this board. But in lieu of those 3 major open-ended questions, you can't build a good house without a foundation. And if the zoning and the PUD and the mini PUD don't fly, then this development wouldn't come to pass. If the commission or our council decides that all of those criteria are met, then to me, we move on to the next phase, the architectural planning. Those are just some concerns I have. Do any of the board members have any comments before we open it to the public?
I agree with you. The zoning is everything here. It's-
And
Without the proper zoning, this.
It almost makes it, and I wouldn't want to turn everybody away without their opportunity, but it almost makes it a moot point tonight as to what this board might or might not recommend, in that we don't know if this thing can move forward. But with that being said, if someone would like to start the ball rolling, we'll have you come to the podium and, oh, sure.
You said some of the things have changed, and this is a fluid document, but what is the number of units as it stands right now?
As it stands right now, we have 18 condominium units and how many hotel units? 76 hotel units.
How many?
We have,
Because we're having difficulty hearing back here.
we have I'm sorry. We have 76 hotel units and 18 condominium
She's saying
units.
they have 76 hotel rooms and 18 condos.
Thank you.
With that being said, who would like to come up and make a comment?
My name is Charles Guilford, commonly known as Captain Chuck. I was a resident of this area before there ever was a Mexico Beach. I have been a resident of Mexico Beach since 1971 upon retiring from the Army and returning back home with it. First, I would like to tell you, members of the board, that I really appreciate your service to the citizens of Mexico Beach and wish that upon any vote that you take according to any proposal that's before it, that you vote according to what you feel is the majority of the citizens of Mexico Beach that you represent. Now, with that being said, I'd like to say to the Corey family, which Mama and Pop Ed and Betty Corey were longtime friends of mine, I have no opposition to your developing any of the property and would love to support it. However, for many reasons, I do not support this particular project, and I won't go over the reason, but the main one is I don't believe the development will attract the type visitors that all of us old retired people in Mexico Beach would enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else?
My name is Jack Mullen. I'm at 121 Miramar Drive, and I'm here in opposition to the rezoning of the land from residential to PUD or to commercial, whichever. They're both about the same. Much of the charm of our town is it's a small laid-back town. It's a beach town, which unfortunately are disappearing across our country these days. Most of us, when we came here, we moved here, we purchased homes, we invested our funds here because we like it the way it is. It's the kind of atmosphere we like. Tell you a quick story. When I first got here, I went down to the grocery store, got some ice cream, and I didn't have my billfold. And I wanted to put the ice cream back, and Audrey told me, don't worry about it. Come in and pay us tomorrow. We've seen you around here. That's how it is in Mexico Beach. And we don't want it to be, as we've always said, Destin or Sandestin or 38. Now, some change is understandable. Nobody's against total change. We expect that people will build on empty lots that they own. We expect that they'll replace homes that have deteriorated. But I don't think anyone expected a change to include a one whole city block being changed to commercial. Beachfront city block going to commercial is totally unexpected. And my guess is if we had a showing of hands of everybody in town and said this is going to be across the street from your house, there'd be very few hands that go up saying, I support that. I have some other, you mentioned, don't get too carried away. I had some questions on parking spaces. I'm not clear, and I'll get with Mel about that. Do have a little problem with the 80 new jobs. I don't know where those employees are coming from. Most of our unskilled, low-skilled jobs are out of town. So if we're going to create 80 jobs, that's not a benefit to Mexico Beach. It's going to be a detriment because they're all going to be driving to come to work every day. So I think I'll just sum up there and just say that we're a family-friendly little town. And frankly, I like to keep it the way it's been for a long, long time.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Jack Miller, and I'm from Columbus, Georgia. And I sent you all a letter, and I'm glad to put faces with the letter. I thank you for the presentation. It was a very nice facility. I am here in opposition, of course. You raised the question of the zoning. Mel and I have had many conversations about the zoning, as have I with many people. But and Mel, your last comment, they may change the zoning. So if it's under a PUD, we have submitted 2 legal opinions that a PUD does not exist. To my knowledge, there is no evidence that a PUD is in existence. So I would raise that point. The only other point, so really you've got a legal question. You've already addressed it. You can't go forward until you've addressed the legal question. I don't need to talk about it anymore. I would say that if it is a PUD, that you still have an overarching requirement of PUDs, and that's promoting greater opportunities for private and open space and land use relationships in harmony with surrounding properties and general neighborhood. And I hope that this board will consider that.
Thank you, sir.
Bobby Pollock, 215 Kim Cove. I would like the board to really consider and make sure our height limits is within control. Not just part of it or whatever. I'm a big believer in you give an inch, somebody's going to take another inch. Soon we have them out. I would love to keep our height limits down. We don't want Panama City Beach. We love our Mexico Beach. Thank you.
Anyone? I believe this young lady is coming up.
Yes, I think it's time a lady spoke.
Well, come on.
My name is Charlotte Howard. We bought our place here in 2003, and that's why we bought it, because it was a nice, quiet town, family, fun place, and we wanted it nice and quiet. And I'm opposed to this because we don't know what we're going to get when we get that. And you know what kind of people are going to be here, and we need our quiet family place. We're retired. Most of us here are. And I feel like that we should keep it a nice, quiet place and not have a lot of people coming in we don't know.
Thank you, ma'am.
I just have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the facility that they're building already bought by a hotel chain?
No.
No. So we could build this building and nobody could buy it?
There are 3 different people who are bidding for it, but they want, no, or they want to make sure it makes it past this before they
Windmark
get on there.
You know, we have Windmark, we have the View. I got concerned about that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janice Maxwell. We have a place on 33rd Street. We've owned it since 1974. We love Mexico Beach. It's a family place. It's easy for people to get up and down the road and get to the beach. We have children in and out of the road playing and going and catching crabs at night, and we love it. I unfortunately am the one who, I think my house is right here at this garage exit on 33rd Street, and we will have people coming in and out day and night, hundreds of cars, lots of people in our front door with light shining, and I think she mentioned something about emergency services flying through there, and that's going to be really great too. But we have, I think, a 12-foot road approximately going in and out, and this is total residential, as you know, on 33rd and 34th, total, except right off of Highway 98. And the road is very small now. It does not handle the traffic that we actually have. But it's so nice because we can actually walk in the road to the beach because we have no other way to get there. I just don't see how, unless they expand the road. And I understand, I would like to know, what is the setback on the side on 33rd Street?
It varies, but I think that, 8 feet. It's required 7.5, but we're at 8.
Okay, well, that is a really big concern because we have to go 20 feet back from the road, and we're at a house. We're talking about a huge hotel, 7 feet from the road, and that road is very narrow, with all these people coming in and out all hours of the day of night. And we're living in this little, this is probably one of the first houses built in Mexico Beach years ago. And I just don't see how you can put something that big. We'll have a fortress it's going to look like a fort in front of our house, which will probably, I don't know if 48 feet is the total height or if it's 17 plus 48 feet. Is it 17 plus 48?
47 feet.
On the back end.
The portion on the back end is actually 30.
Total?
Well, 30, and then the railing is 42, so.
So the total from ground on the back end will be only 42 feet total.
The finished floor elevation, do you want to answer this one? But the finished floor elevation of the first floor is due to the fact that you're on the Gulf, and
Right.
it's at 17.
It's 17.6, but it's not from zero at the road. That's from sea level. The road is actually at 8 foot. So it's 10 foot up, but any house or development on there has to be at 17.6.
Right. So what, with the 17 foot and the condominium, how will it be?
It's 10 foot from the road. So 40 feet.
40 feet. 40 feet. But anyway, I'm very much opposed to it for very many reasons, many of which we love Mexico Beach because it's such a quaint, beautiful place, and I know that's why they say they want to come. But it won't be quaint and beautiful, and there'll be, I don't know how many people out on the beach, 100-foot strip of beach, which I understand, someone pointed out, I think Mr. Miller, that the El Governor has 1,000 front foot of beach just for their hotel. And we're talking about 100 feet of beachfront property shared by probably another 500 or 600 people. And every weekend during the summer, we have to this last few years, it's been growing so much. We have a wonderful place to put the boats in now, and a lot of people want to come and fish. But we have to go down early in the morning and put up our chairs and everything to even get on the beach today. So I'm asking, please consider, maybe there's another place that this could be built. It would not really be in the middle of a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you can come up. Before you do, I've got a question. One of the big reasons that a lot of people come to Mexico Beach is to fish. And where have you made any accommodations for their boats?
There have been no plans to include boat storage, boat parking, or anything in this development.
Okay.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Rick Moore, and my wife Melissa and I own a house on 34th Street. It's the last house on the right-hand side as you dead end into the Gulf. My across the street neighbor is Bill Ponder, and our houses sit up on stilts because that elevation is the first elevation that you can begin to add to safely build above those coastal construction lines and those elevation requirements from FEMA. So any pluses, any stories that go up on an adjacent property, really you could just take a look at our houses, know that that is the zero line where our homes are, and you could begin to stack the stories above that. The people who live on 33rd and 34th are probably a special tribe of people in that we will accommodate changes that happen that the property deserves to have something happen to it. There's not a person that lives up down 33rd or 34th that wants to get in the way of the lawful, proper, well-planned use of that property. But we would like some involvement in the considerations associated with the design. I think there is a point of law that says that the setback, instead of being the 7 or 8 feet, is really 20 feet. The property is a side corner. When you look at your zoning code, it's not a side. It's a side corner lot, unfortunately, for the developer, fortunately probably for all of us, but the 34th Street and the 33rd Street side is a side corner with a 20-foot setback. A little hard to imagine that the low-slung residential properties have to sit back 20, and the more intense vertical properties can crowd that property line at 7 or 8. There was a lot of good design consideration, and thank you to the architects for kind of that layered cake effect as you go back from 98, lower then higher. As residents along 33rd and 34th Street, I think we'd like to see that same layered effect and that same step back consideration of our properties as this design moves forward. I've submitted a letter to you. My wife and I wrote a letter, and one of the considerations that we kind of begged for was a dedicated pedestrian path, a sidewalk, more than the skinny 4-foot sidewalk, something that was a promenade that would actually let people move down to the beach without having to walk in the street. The traffic along 34th, it's low now, it just gets more all the time, and there really are kids and families and wagons, and I mean, it's a great place. But there's some good, positive design things if we would be engaged in a discussion in a meaningful way that I think we could help with this design process. I've heard the words fluid, morph, and change, and frankly, we're not really sure what we're responding to tonight. We know what was on the website, we know what we looked at, we know what we studied, and maybe if there's a mechanism that we could receive the most current set of plans, we could have even a more informed set of comments to you rather than providing comments on something that is out of date or not quite there. In closing, I would tell you this. I happen to own a business that represents developers through the land development approval process. And I'm way enjoying being the public tonight versus representing this project through the process, just because it's complicated. It really is. There are a lot of issues and it's complicated, but I'll tell you this. If your decision to approve this project is tied to the architecture, tied to the presentation of the very well-designed, beautiful, shiny architectural elements of this project, the weathered wood, the gardens on top of things, please condition your approvals on those architectural elements, because they're unenforceable at the building permit level unless they are carried through as part of a condition of zoning, a condition of approval. So if at the end of the day this thing gets designed and architecture and design is an element that is a compelling issue to you, please codify it in some way so that what gets built is really close to what we see on the screen, because there's some great ideas. We just need to figure out how to bring it all in for a landing. Thank you for your time.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have any concerns about your property value?
We had this discussion in the back. I have another neighbor from 34th Street, and we said that if we got the same kind of densities approved in a companion request to the approval of this, maybe we're okay in the long term. We can live in our houses and one day sell to a restaurant chain who wants to serve this group. But if we are stuck at single-family residential with a height cap and not given any of the similar considerations, I think our property values diminish over time. Our property becomes a little harder to either occupy and enjoy or a little tougher to rent. And so that's just the gut feel. I'm not an expert at real estate. It's just how it feels.
Now, your property is actually the property on the
Gulf.
On the Gulf.
On the right-hand side at the end of 34th Street.
So you're on the other side of the street from this?
Mr. Ponder, my neighbor, Bill Ponder, is actually surrounded or directly adjacent and in the block where the project is being proposed.
And what you were just saying is, if Mr. Ponder or anyone else who lives on 33rd and 34th that face the hotel, none of those properties will be considered in this zoning change. And the zoning, if Mr. Ponder were to want to sell his house at some point to some commercial endeavor, it would have to get rezoned to do anything more than put a residential, a residence on it.
That's how we understand it at this point, subject to learning more from you and your staff.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
I'll raise the tally for the ladies a little bit too. My name is Cherie Bryant. I own a property on 34th Street. I'm a weekend resident, like a lot of people. I drive in from Tallahassee. Feel like I leave a little bit of my heart here every time I go home. Go back. I say home. I have 2 homes. What I wanted to speak from, I've actually spent the last 15 years of my career in a similar position as you. Rezoning, looking at rezonings, comp plan amendments, site plans, so I know the difficult place you're in. You're looking, at 2 competing interests and having to find some common ground or make sometimes just a difficult decision. That's a difficult place, and I know most of you probably went into it because of a love for the city and a desire to take care of it. It's difficult, but it's extremely important because it's determining what sort of legacy we leave for the future residents of the city. And I wanted to step up behind Rick because the question of what happens next and how do things change. Well, once you, and I've have seen this, once you change one zoning, then it's hard to deny the next one, and it's hard to deny the next one, and it's hard to deny the next one. And that's how character changes. That's how communities change. So I wanted to put a couple of things on the record. I know you had stated that there's some issues about the PUD. Having a background in comp planning, familiarized myself a little bit. I mean, I haven't spoken with any of your staff, your legal representation yet, but just reading the comprehensive plan, there's some things I wanted to put on the record, that there is a dividing line. The front of this is the tourist commercial, and then the rear of it, the majority of it is the tourist residential, which through the comprehensive plan, which is the overarching document, which the land development regulations, PUDs, all need to be consistent with that comp plan. It's 32 feet with a cap of 8 dwelling units per acre. But that's a number, that's a numerical. Some people have talked about the character of Mexico Beach and its history, and the predecessors who helped write your predecessors who helped write the comp plan have put some things in there that I think are relevant. And if you'll indulge me reading just some of the policy language into the record, it states the city shall use the plan and its land development regulations to promote compatibility of adjacent land uses and reduce the potential for nuisances. And as much, again, I'm impressed with your presentation, I am. It looks like it'll be a beautiful hotel and a beautiful facility for those people who are in it. But it does look like it's going to create some nuisances for the properties around it. It also, the comp plan policy 1.4.1 states the city shall restrict proposed development, which is inconsistent with the character of the community. And so I just wanted to, again, I'm sure most of you are aware of that, but for the sake of the public and placing it on record, I wanted to do so. When you get into the code and in the mini PUD, it does clarify that it can be located only in the tourist commercial zoning on the front. So I think that's certainly important. And that it also states in the mini PUD in section 2.03.11 that it shall meet the density goals and policies of the comp plan. So again, it's just referring back to that consistency. And it also states the final plan, that same paragraph E2 of that same section, that the developer must demonstrate the density is compatible with the surrounding land uses. So those are important things going forward, whether it's rezoned or not. those comp plan issues are certainly something that reflect the concerns that my neighbors and fellow city residents have brought up. They just jogged me into the need to actually state there is some regulation supporting some of the more heartfelt sentiment. Because I do also hope to be able to retire here in not too distant future. Some days it feels longer than others. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I'll give you this. I'm going to show you how far it is. My name is William Ponder, and I own the only house on that block. This is now there, and it's been there for a long time. But you can see on that diagram where it sits, and you also see Mr. Moore's house, where it sits on in conjunction across 34th Street. Now, you wanted to not go into all the details, and I won't. But a few years ago, when we remodeled our house, we wanted to add 2 feet on the west side, going toward 34th Street. We wanted to enlarge the bathroom. So Dolores Windolph with Windolph's Construction helped us, and we made an application. We own the land where we park now. We considered our house facing the beach. Well, we were told by the planning people, which none of y'all were there at that time, we were told that as far as the zoning and the regulations go, all houses in Mexico Beach face the street. All of them have to have 20-foot setback.